It is, I don't know, April 7th, April 8th, 2019. The girls are both gone for the weekend. Amy's actually up in Virginia. She's working with the horses up there with some friends. And Rowan is spending the night at one of her horse mentors. And in the morning, they are going to do their first endurance ride. So we're really excited. Rowan's only 11 years old, get into a pretty cool sport with horses, endurance racing. So pretty proud of her. It's April. I'm home alone. This video is about advice. There's a lot of advice out there. Lots of people love to give it. Lots of people like to receive it. I have definitely gotten a lot of advice in my life, and there's one piece of advice. It's probably been, wow, 12 or 13 years since I've gotten this advice, and I'm going to tell you that at the end of the video. We're going to kind of check stuff out. Spring is happening on the farm. It's going to get dark soon. We'll see how much I can talk. This is the last of my sap. I'm not using this sap. I just didn't get a chance to take it down yet. This is the walnut syrup I've been experimenting with. Next year I'm going to have a much bigger system. I just haven't had a chance to take this one down. But the sap is actually not really clear, and it's kind of a yellow. And how I know that sap season is over, this has been here about 4 or 5 days and hasn't gotten any higher. So the sap season for walnuts where I live is definitely done for. But I had a great time with walnut syrup. So next year, stay tuned, because I'm going to build an evaporator. I'm going to have a bigger, better system. I'm probably going to sell some walnut syrup, maybe give some away to some friends. This is my swarm trap I hung up maybe 2 weeks ago. It's just an old nuke box. It's like wax coated. No swarms yet, but I think it's still a little early for where I live. I live about 3,000 feet in the mountains of North Carolina, so I think it's a little bit early for swarms. According to my mentor, those don't really happen till maybe the end of April, maybe May. Swarms can happen any time of year, but spring swarms are pretty common. Fall swarms, probably second most popular time to catch swarms. As of yet, no bees, but I haven't really seen a lot of bees out in my area. If I catch a swarm this year, I will be just happy and feel lucky. I'm trying it, but I'm doing a lot this year, so if I catch a swarm, great. I did buy some Swarm Commander, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a special liquid spray you can buy. And honestly, I think it is basically lemongrass. That's what it smells like. So maybe I spent too much on some Swarm Commander, but apparently it works. I sprayed a few sprays in that. Hopefully it'll attract some bees. Hey, buddy. Hey, bud. Hey, buddy. This is Corn Dog. This is one of Amy's horses. We have 4, but right now we only have 1 on the property. Amy is working with her mare Izzy. That was a rescue horse. She's come a long way with a rescue horse. We have lots of videos about her. She was a horse that was actually at a kill pen and was mistreated, and Amy knows so much about horses and has really been working with Izzy. Corn Dog actually was a rescue. All of our horses are rescues, except one was given to us by a friend, and that's Rowan's horse now, Dakota, her pony. So the pony Dakota and Prophet, which is kind of my horse, they are at a friend's farm closer to Asheville, which is where this big horse endurance competition is happening. So it was just easier for us to move the horses closer to where this was happening. We're about an hour away from Asheville, and the horses now are maybe a half an hour away. It's a little more convenient for Roan's mentor to get the horses in the morning. So right now we're just down to one horse. Feels kind of strange. We've never had only one horse on the farm, but just temporary, right, Corn Dog? Hey, buddy. Whose nostrils are bigger? Hopefully, Corn Dog has bigger nostrils than me. If not, I might be a little worried. So like I said, though, this video is about advice. I think most of us probably start with the advice of our parents. Mine is definitely from my dad, I guess. He is definitely a man of many talents, a man of much wisdom. He had a really, really good knack of taking songs, and songs that us kids had never heard of from his generation, mainly Elvis songs. I can't think of good examples of those songs, but he would tell us advice, and years later, I would hear a song, and I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't advice from my dad. That was an old Elvis song. So he was really good at taking songs and making them his own. But there's two things my dad has told me that have stuck with me. One, it's no joke when you're broke. No joke when you're broke. That's pretty simple. But I mean, you know, that there's a lot of meaning behind that. You gotta work, people. If you can work, if you're able, working is a good thing. When I moved to Asheville, which I don't live in Asheville anymore, about an hour away. But when I moved to Asheville probably 13 years ago, I had a college degree, a teaching degree. It was wrong time of year to start teaching. It was, you know, August, September when I moved, and school had already started. So I had 8 jobs in 5 months. Horrible jobs. Some of them were horrible. Some of them were good, actually. I worked for the YMCA at the front desk, and I worked at an after-school program. Those were good jobs, but some bad jobs. I worked at a restaurant for like 6 weeks. It was called Ham's Restaurant. Some days I would work there for 12 hours and make $16. Horrible. I also built waterfalls. I did labor ready, if you know what that is, where you just show up at a labor ready office and they send you out on a job. I guess that's how I got that waterfall job. But man, the guy that had the waterfall company, what a jerk this guy was. He would try to short me every week, and I mean, you know, smart guy. At least I think I'm smarter than average, hopefully. I would keep records of all of my payments and the hours worked, and at the end of the week, he would try to short me. And I was like, you know what? I just worked 55 hours for you. You were sitting in your car in the air conditioning, you know? So that was a tough time in my life, actually, moving to Asheville. But I'm going to get back to that. What are you doing, bud? Hey, buddy. That's Silo. You silly buddy. The peach trees are blooming. The goats are happy. My elderberries are doing good. I don't think I showed that. My garden area, I got some work to do, but I've been working on it. Quick peek, looks horrible. This is might actually be a Bradford pear tree. I know people don't like those. I don't like them either, but it's here. The apple trees are doing okay. There's one tree that is just impossible to prune. It's like the impossible apple tree. These apple trees were here when we moved in, and they weren't really pruned properly the first time, or for many years, and the way they've grown is just kind of less than sustainable, and I'm trying my best, but not great. Every year this tree is a pain in the butt. Sometimes we get apples, sometimes we don't. I'm probably gonna plant some other apple trees and not start over, but start differently. Now, some advice from me, or at least some advice that I've tried to follow from myself, is I've always told myself, live somewhere you would take a vacation to. That's right, live somewhere where you would take a vacation to. I've done pretty good with that. I'm from St. Louis. That's where I was born and raised. But since I was 18, I've lived in Idaho. I lived in the mountains of Southern California at about 8,000 feet for 3 years as a science teacher there. I lived in the Santa Cruz area for a few months at another science camp, and I lived right next to giant redwoods, Big Basin State Park. If you've ever heard of Big Basin State Park, I lived there for a few months. I lived in the Florida Keys for a summer. I lived in northern Minnesota at the Boundary Waters as a canoe guide. And I've done what some people would say is unorthodox. I've hiked the Appalachian Trail. I'll see if I can get a picture of me when I was on the trail. I've paddled 1,500 miles from Lake Superior in Minnesota to the Hudson Bay. 2-month canoe trip. I'm sure I can find a picture somewhere and post it. So I've lived unorthodoxly. I don't know if that's a word. Unorthodox? Whatever. So I've always tried to live somewhere that I would take a vacation at. And I'm doing it now. I'm living in this beautiful farm with my family. And I mean, taking a vacation is what you make of it, right? Life should be a vacation, as in you should be enjoying your life. Make the most of your life. I mean, every day I come home, I want to be on my farm. I want to be with my family. I want to be planting stuff, building stuff, raising animals, exploring the woods. So I've done pretty good with that advice. As a school teacher, I always tell my students 2 things. I tell them to be good and do good. Got me a red box here. What do I do when the girls aren't home? I watch horrible superhero movies from Marvel. Tonight I'm gonna watch the Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's right, kind of nerdy, but the girls don't like these movies, and some of them are horrible. There's so many of them that some of them have gotten pretty bad. But I'm gonna check out the Ant-Man and the Wasp. Do good and be good. What does that mean? If you don't know Isaac, he's our green-cheeked conure. Guess he hasn't been in a lot of videos lately, mainly because most of our videos are outside. It's the winter time. Tropical bird does not like snow, so he stays inside. Except in the spring and summer, he's always hanging out on one of our shoulders. Do good and be good, though. That's what I tell my students. To me, what I'm trying to tell them, be good means always be a good person. Even if someone's not watching, try to be a good person. I try to respect everyone. I try to give them a chance. I try to give them a second chance. Now, if someone's disrespectful to me several times, I'm probably not going to give them a chance. You can only cut a person so many breaks. Do good. Try to help people. Again, I try to help people. Maybe it's, you know, being a teacher, trying to help people out, and I encourage my students to do that as well. Now, don't be taken advantage by someone, but try to be a good person. Do good and be good. But what is the best advice anyone has given me? Story time. So, I had moved to Asheville, I don't know if it was 2005 2005, something like that. And I had lived in California for several years as a outdoor educator. I had hiked the AT. I had paddled my 1,500 miles with 2 other Eagle Scouts. Oh yeah, I'm an Eagle Scout. Proud of it. But I moved to Asheville, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. I love California, but it was a little far from my family, which they're still pretty far away in St. Louis, 10 hours away. But 10 hours is something I can drive to, see them twice a year sometimes, or if there's an emergency. But California is pretty far away from St. Louis. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was struggling financially. I was living with some friends in a house that now is probably even more expensive. And I was working 8 different jobs in 5 months. I would work a job from 8 a.m. to, 5 o'clock, and then I would go home, and then I would work another job at the YMCA, usually from like 6 to 9 o'clock, and it was pretty exhausting. I worked at a restaurant nights, and again, I had a college degree. Asheville is a very tough place to find a job. So I wasn't sure what I was doing. I thought about going to nursing school. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine's a nurse, and he was actually starting to go to nursing school, and I was like, I could maybe be a nurse, maybe. So I called, Isaac, don't bite me, buddy. Don't be nippy. I called my old scoutmaster. And sometimes he probably watches a video here or there. And I talk to him still. So I called him, and he gave me some really good advice. And this is what that advice was. Isaac, buddy, do not nibble on my ear. He told me, never base your life on the timeline of others. And that was really good advice for me. I think it's really good advice for other people. And it's true. Maybe I was basing my life on the timeline on what it was supposed to be. But guess what? There's not a timeline for anyone's life. Things happen in the order they happen. And that was really good advice for me. I mean, I was probably 26 then. Not all of my friends were married, but, some of them were getting married. And I was like, I don't even have me a good woman. I don't even have me a job. But I did all these amazing things in my life, so I can't really complain about that. But that was really true. Don't base your life on the timeline of others. You might get married when you're 20. You might get married in your 30s. You might get married in your 50s for the first time. Or who knows, you may get married for the 3rd time in your 30s, the 3rd time in your 50s. You may have kids. You may not have kids. You may have a farm one day. You may not ever make it to that if that's what your goal is. But what I'm trying to say is, don't judge yourself by the progress of others. There's some great YouTubers here on homestead YouTubers. Use those people to inspire yourself, but don't base yourself off of them. There's YouTubers, homesteaders, non-homesteaders that have thousands and thousands of subscribers, and that is amazing. But there's also some YouTubers out there that only have 300 subscribers that I watch, and they are amazing as well. They have great advice. They're doing great things. So try not to get jealous of people or wishing you were them. Be happy who you are and make your life as good as you can make it. I try not to make assumptions about people. You have no idea what struggle a person might be going through or what struggle they overcame to get to where they're at. So again, be the best you can be. Don't base your life on the timeline of how you think it's supposed to be. Things are going to happen. Good things, bad things, horrible things sometimes, unfortunately. But amazing things also happen.
And because of that, you just need to keep trucking, doing the best you can. I got an amazing wife and daughter now. I wasn't picturing that when I was 27. Now I'm close to 40. And I have a farm. I started out homesteading in a suburban house. I won't even say suburban. It was almost in the city. It was in the city limits of Asheville. I had chickens. I had mushroom logs, a garden. A rain barrel was a big deal to me. Fruit trees. So that's where I started. And now we have a 20-acre farm. And there's so much more we can do. But you got to start somewhere, is what I'm trying to say. And life doesn't always, I guess, give you lemons, make lemonade, whatever that saying is. But just be happy with who you are and where you are. And of course have goals. But everyone starts from somewhere. And some of us start at different places. But if you want to get somewhere, you can do it. You just have to work for it. And it's taken us 10 years to get to this farm. When I met Amy, we lived in a small apartment. We still had chickens. But we had goals and we had dreams, and we still have goals and dreams, and we're still reaching for those dreams. I feel like if I don't have any dreams anymore, if I don't have any goals anymore, what am I doing? Every time you should have a new dream. Life to me is about dreaming and about accomplishing those dreams, or at least attempting to accomplish those dreams. And if you get there, there's always something else in life to get excited about. That is why I love homesteading. Is I'm never going to know it all. No one's ever going to know it all. If they say they do, they're lying to you. Homesteading, there's just so much to do. Homesteading is a big word. So many things fall into homesteading, and I'm going to keep doing it the rest of my life. I feel like I would be, honestly, just living in a suburb or a city for me, I could not do it anymore. I have plenty of friends that do that, and that is great for them. That's their life. I don't judge how they live. Some of them judge how I live, actually, unfortunately. But I personally couldn't do it. I got to live in the country the rest of my life. I got to have property. I just don't know what I would do if I didn't have it anymore. I would be bored. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, maybe I was long-winded, you can say, hey, you're too long-winded, whatever you want to say. I'm going to go in and watch my movie since the girls are out of town, and we'll catch you on the flip side.